to some dare call it conspiracy, with Brentley and Neil Sanders. We've all had a run-in or two with trolls, especially those of us who are challenging disinformation. But what happens when it goes too far? We spoke with 3 victims of online stalking and harassment to share their stories. This is part 2, Catherine's story. We just want you to really start by saying who you are and what you want to tell us today.
Well, I think everybody knows who I am now, thanks to being doxxed. So my name's Catherine, obviously. 47-year-old nail technician, apparently. I'm actually not a nail technician. I closed my business when COVID hit because of, firstly, the danger to customers, because I had a lot of clients who were, maybe cancer survivors or, and it just wasn't safe. So I actually closed my business before lockdown hit, which was a tough decision. Took me 16 years to grow my business. But to be honest, I was kind of at the point where I needed a change in career. So obviously lockdown happened and then I had time on my hands. I've always been pro-vaccine, pro-evidence-based science. So I noticed things going on Facebook. Breeze Media was probably the thing that alerted me to what was going on.
Anna Breeze.
Oh, yes.
She thinks we're a bit brash, she does.
Yeah, she was probably the first one. And I had a friend who was radicalized by her Kate Sherimani. And I think, who was it? Possibly McCullough.
Right.
10 pennies. So she got, and she was a really, really good friend of mine. We always agreed to disagree on vaccines. She was convinced that her son was vaccine injured because he was diabetic.
Right.
So we agreed to disagree. I said, if you believe that, that's fine. You don't actually have any proof. But anyway, so she has gone right down the rabbit hole. I had to go back onto Facebook. I told you the dogs were going to bark. You stop it now. Enough. That's the Bosnian. So I will lock you out. I should have done this in the car.
No. Go for it.
So I became a moderator of, I don't know if you remember the Wibble movement.
Oh, the Wibble movement. Yeah, I did. I remember that, yeah.
Yes. So I became a moderator on the Wibble movement because I started to combat misinformation on Facebook initially.
Was that born out of a sort of frustration with your friend? Like you said you had a friend that so you saw that in your personal life and then you saw it online, or were you already sort of into debunking? Did you have like a passing sort of interest in conspiracies or?
No, I've been into debunking for a long time. Started off with vaccine misinformation on Facebook, far right movements on Facebook.
Yeah.
So debunking was something I was always interested in, and people used to share that kind of Britain First kind of stuff. And it was so easy to debunk,
Okay, yeah.
So then I started to get a bit of harassment on Facebook and left Facebook and was invited to a group on Twitter. And I repurposed my old unused business account on Twitter, made sure it was anonymous because by then I was starting to realize that there was a lot of harassment and abuse that went on. And Graham Botley was probably one of my first follows, and Kit Yates, I think. So yeah, I'm a mutton girl through and through. So yeah, that's how I started. So I landed up on Twitter, and I think at the beginning I was more, especially ivermectin. Ivermectin was one of my big babies. Kind of, I would say, researching, googling. Let's be honest, it was googling. So
the author or the drug?
The drug. What's safe? So kind of looking at the people who were promoting it and what their reasons were, and why so many people bought into it. So yeah, and then it just went crazy after that.
So you sort of skipped ahead of it and explained that you'd been doxxed. So when it started to go crazy, did it go completely crazy? How long did it take, like, for everything to sort of come to a head?
No, I mean, I had a lot of experiences. I don't know if you remember I was looking
Yeah.
through my screenshots earlier. He was one of the kind of first who really went after me. He had a crew of some very nasty people. So he was probably one of the first that I had a serious altercation with that got quite nasty.
And what did you fall out about, or what did you disagree about?
He made a comment on a thread, and then he objected to me referring to him as an anti-vaxxer.
I
So
see.
kind of looked through his account and went, well, you are an anti-vaxxer, so you need to fuck this up.
I see. Right. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a shame. So yeah, so that was where the sort of a lot of the confrontations came in was within the sort of the context of COVID. Ivermectin, obviously, like there was a lot of people who were trying to make money. It only was literally snake oil, essentially, wasn't it? It probably won't do you that much harm. Well, apart from the few people that died from taking it, obviously. But it's not going to treat your COVID, is it? Basically, so.
Well, no, the evidence says not.
So, do you tend to find that, like, have you found anybody that basically is it part and parcel? The people who are promoting the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine, have you found any of those that have said, well, yes, those work, but vaccines work too? Or suspiciously, is it entirely like either one or the other?
It does seem to be. I mean, I think I seem to recall at the beginning that Pierre Corey had a disclaimer on his FLCC, whatever website it was called. I forget now. It's been a long time since I've been involved in that. But I seem to remember at the beginning he had a disclaimer saying that you should vaccinate and you should mask. And this is, please don't take our advice because they're not indemnified or anything like that, are they? So speak to your practitioner. That changed. I think as his fame grew, he became more and more outspokenly anti-vax. So it seems like they start with being a little bit contrarian and well, I mean, let's be honest, we know that he profited off ivermectin. And then as that kind of fame grows, they seem to need to up their game a little bit to keep relevant.
Oh, you've got to keep it fresh, haven't you? Like this is the point. This is just something that I don't think that people can see. That it's very obvious from an exterior point of view. Is that you start in by dipping your toes, you'll say something, and then you've got to go full ball, and you've got to keep upping the ante and upping the ante because there's an expectation from the audience at this point. Now the audience is there basically like. Is very, very lucrative, but there are certain party lines and party rules that you have to adhere to. And because essentially you are, it's just a profit-making thing, you've got to keep coming out with new material. And in order to, like these people like Pierre Corey or whatever, or all of these people, they're akin to a band. And people want to hear new music. They don't want to hear the same old stuff. They want to hear new stuff. But you get accustomed to being told that they're killing people with vaccines. So you've got to keep upping it and upping it and upping it. And before you know it, you're sort of hanging your hat on all sorts of ridiculous hooks and things like that in order to basically, retain this popularity that you've just got.
And heaven forbid that they say anything. That's why I think Alex Berenson came out recently and said, this is, now we're going back to vaccines cause autism. We know that this isn't true. And he got absolutely piled on by his own people. So once you start to court the anti-vax crowd, my goodness, you better say what they want to hear. Otherwise, they don't react well.
Yeah. So obviously, like there's always been with social media a degree of antagonism backwards and forwards and, being unpleasant to one another. At what point did it start getting really like beyond the pale with you?
I would actually say, after a lot of reflection, particularly over the last couple of days with that piece coming out in the Gashington Post. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
That really, I would say, ground zero starts with the vortex of evil that is I'm sure you know them, Helen and Shez and their allegiance to Jicky.
Jicky leaks.
Yeah. Jicky is problematic, and I know that they're going to say, well, I wanted Jicky's details to be made public, and I actually really do think that he owes his fans the honesty of who he is and what his credentials are. He's not somebody who's got a base of 500 people or 5,000 people. He's got, between all his platforms, he must easily have hundreds of thousands. And he's purporting himself to be an expert. He's not just saying, well, look, here are the peer-reviewed articles that I can quote. He is bringing forward his own kind of research. So I know that there's been a lot of criticism and backlash because I'm saying, well, I was doxxed. And to be honest, that isn't, it's unpleasant, but it's not kind of, I'm okay with it.
Sorry, who was it that actually doxed you? Was it all in?
I don't know who he is. I don't know who he is. No, I don't know who the individual is. He was doxing somebody else and I intervened and he turned on me. And, there's been a lot of speculation because obviously I share a mutual fan with James Hodcroft and Sassy.
Yeah.
So it gets a little bit confusing to have to say, especially when I'm phoning the police and I'm like, so which one is this? You've got two stalkers? Well, at the moment, yeah. It starts to sound a bit crazy.
Right. Okay. So just to sort of clarify, so you were always interested in sort of misinformation and debunking sort of sillier ideas that were floating around, particularly in the sort of medical arena. Obviously, COVID happens. Initially, it was ivermectin, and then basically people sort of coming out with, I assume, anti-vax statements. And you basically, because this is something you've done in the past, you were engaging with these people. You were pointing out where they were wrong, potentially, debates, that sort of thing. No doubt it got a bit heated on all sides at some point. And then you encountered am I right to say that basically once you sort of got involved with the sort of WikiLeaks lot, that's where it started to get a little bit more sort of sinister and a bit more personal?
I would say so. I mean, that lot, and I actually blocked them. We have mutual block, I think May last year, and yet they still post about me. They accused a friend of mine of being a paedophile. He actually sent a lawyer's letter to Helen. I came across her harassing a woman who just lost their child to COVID.
That's quite sad.
So, these are just not nice people. But at any rate, I can't say that this guy is involved with them, but he's certainly, they've certainly spent a lot of the last couple of weeks scrabbling around, having a lot to say about the issue, which just makes me suspicious,
Yeah. Okay, so what happened? I mean, what was your story? I mean, obviously some people might have read the recent Byline story, but just in your own words, just explain to us what happened, how it escalated, and what happened to yourself.
So I intervened with this account, small burner account, doxing a friend of mine. He was very, very shocked. He actually deleted his account. His wife's a nurse. He's got little children. It was quite threatening. It was very nasty. And then all of a sudden he turned on me. And the next thing I know, he's posting my address and my old address and my old business details all over Twitter. Got a little bit heated. It all happened quite fast. And then I had a message on Twitter from him saying, check your Facebook messages. And I don't actually use Facebook at all. So I checked my Facebook messages and there was a message from him saying that if I didn't close my Twitter account by next Wednesday, that he would pay someone on the dark web to come to my home. And that if myself or my daughter met with any harm, it was my own fault. And
that's not fun and games anymore, is it? I'm assuming you went to the police with this.
I did.
And what was the police response?
They called me in for an interview, and then and I have to say that she didn't really get it, if I'm honest. I wouldn't say that she really understood. She was a young girl as well. So then I got a response from them afterwards to say that they didn't think there was a case to answer. Basically, they weren't going to pursue it.
Right. Okay. That doesn't seem right, does it? Because I mean, it seems like a fairly open and shut case of somebody sending you a threat and a coercion threat. That could even be considered blackmail. You do X, otherwise X will happen.
Yeah, that he was going to find out everything about me. And I did. I mean, I spent every day wondering what I was going to wake up to. And I mean, it was horrible. I've had altercations with some really nasty people. And every time, there'd be kind of any debating of any sort, mostly mudslinging at this stage, to be quite honest, because these are just vile individuals. He would be in there doxing you to them. So he was going around finding the most awful people that I'd interacted with on Twitter and telling them my address and my phone number and calling my child really, really awful ableist slurs. And I mean, his latest message, I sent it to you, Brent, didn't I?
Yeah.
Was of a really awful sexual nature, towards my child. I mean, the photograph that he's referring to, she was 7.
Right. And so
Mhm.
what's happened since then? Have you tried to pursue further action with the police?
I have. I
third-
had a chat with him yesterday. I'll be quite honest. The response from him was appalling. When he started going after my daughter, I emailed the PC who I dealt with, and I said, "This is not acceptable. I want this escalated. He's now involving my daughter. This is really awful. He's now gone on to dox somebody else and
Mm.
their children." And the response I got back was, "You don't like it, you should close your Twitter account."
What?
Mm.
That isn't that akin to shut your curtains to stop lights to
Yeah.
the man looking through the window?
Well,
Like,
we're a
where-
short skirt, if you don't want trouble. So I'm really object to the way that it was handled. I've spoken to my MP recently. I have to say he was quite good. I mean, it's Michael Fabricant. So he and I've had, not really, I've called him out on some bits in the past. I had to go look at my Twitter to see how bad it was. But to be honest, he was quite good. He said there is a bill that's going to Parliament, and he forwarded my case to an MP who's involved. So I can't imagine anything will come of it.
Mm. Have you had a chance to speak to a solicitor or anybody like that who might be able to sort of like jolly it along or pursue anything?
No, I think the issue is that looking through his language, I'm pretty sure that he's in the States. This last,
See, right.
the last message he sent really, really confirmed that he's in the States. He's obsessed with Biden and Trump, and he's clearly been so radicalized on social media. And
Yeah.
this is really where my big issue is, that social media are not taking accountability for the fact that people are being radicalized on their platforms. And they owe us the common decency to make sure that these public spaces are safe for us. And they're not doing it.
That's terrible. I'm frustrated listening to your story. God knows how you must feel. Like it's yeah. So that's dreadful.
It's incredibly
So-
unjust. It's not okay that this is the kind of, the response that we're getting, when you go to them and it's quite a distressing situation and you're just told to shut your account. I mean, it's kind of shifting the blame onto the victim. And I actually said in a response, I said, why should I shut my account so that this person is free to go and abuse, harass and dox other people? Because he will do it to other people. And I said that right from the start. I said he will do this to other people.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's the power thing, isn't it? It's, again, we said this previously. Like it's very sad, like shallow, hollow individuals that are looking for some sort of means to bully other people, and they can only do it through the anonymous, medium of a screen because they're cowards, essentially. That doesn't make it any less annoying for yourself, particularly when it involves your daughter and stuff like that. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. But yeah, I mean, so what are you going to do moving forward? Do you have a sort of a next step? Obviously, you've spoken to your MP about it. What do you?
Oh yeah, I do have a next step. I'm going to fight. I'm not taking this line down. Absolutely not. We need laws changed. So we're going to look at starting a petition.
Okay.
Some bits in the pipeline in terms of getting the news out. I think the article in the bylines was a bit of a stepping stone, and I think this is such an important subject to highlight, as it is going to completely blow my anonymity. But it's a subject I feel very strongly about. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of backlash because you know I'm very outspoken and I do not make any apology for it. I think these people are gutless, horrible cowards. I really do. So yeah. So I think, but I don't think we can equate calling out the actions of anti-vaxxers we know have threatened and abused scientists constantly for the last 3 years. How can we equate calling their behavior out with threatening someone's child? Let's not conflate the two things.
Does that tend to happen a lot? Basically, when you start calling people out on the internet, they'll say, "Well, this is you. This is tantamount to you wanting to expose me, wanting to ruin me for my opinions." That sort of thing. Or stifling my free speech. That's usually the last bastion of the moron. Like,
Oh, you were horrible to me. Well, get over it. You're a grown person. Stop being a twat.
well, yeah, and yeah. This is very true. Social media is a bizarre entity, isn't it? Like, people don't seem to realize the sort of impact that they have on other people, and they seem very, very fragile. They can dish it out, can't they, a lot of the time? And then when the tables are turned, people are very, very quick to cry victim in this sort of thing, which is and again, having a difference of opinion isn't the same thing, is it? This is we're talking about very, very different things. Like, okay, calling someone an idiot online because you disagree with them, exposing where this person lives, and essentially attacking their children. They're not even the same sport. They're not the same ballpark. They're not the same anything. Like, it's astonishing that people revel in such horrible behaviour. And I think you're absolutely right, Kat. I think the shit. We're allowed to say, of course we know what I'm saying. So I just thought, oh no, I've accidentally doxed you.
Well,
But
bag.
but social media, it tends to encourage and exacerbate this type of behavior, particularly in people who are sort of, lacking, feeling a bit hard done to, feeling a bit underappreciated, feeling like they perhaps have been sort of passed by the world. It gives them, it's a tool that can be easily manipulated, and it can be used to manipulate people into that position, and then it can be used by those people to manipulate other people into feeling bad about themselves, essentially. So there's a huge amount of problems with social media that definitely need addressing. So,
I mean, that's the worst of it, is that they're actually profiting off the. I mean, we will never know how many people have died as a result of the bad information that has been given to them by social media. And I do get, they do have free choice. I mean, they have absolutely got the free choice to die by whatever virus is coming along that they're not vaccinated against. Good for them. What a win.
Mm-hmm.
But at one stage, social media we've got to have a serious conversation about where their liability starts and ends. I mean, I'd say as well for people like Pierre Corey, and I've said this to anti-vaxxers and the ivermectin acolytes in the past, that, you got to learn about the fact that there's no indemnity, which we know isn't true, from the vaccine companies. What indemnity are you getting from the people that you follow?
Well,
if you take WikiLeaks advice, what are you going to do if something goes wrong?
Well,
it doesn't have public liability insurance.
Well, there's regulation in advertising, isn't there? Okay. And in advertising, they will use the appeal to authority, like, 9 out of 10 doctors, et cetera, right? So how is it dissimilar if somebody who is using their authoritative status as a doctor, even if it's a pretend doctor, like some of these chiropractors and morons online, like, where's the difference? How is that any different from a paid television advertisement where the selling point is that this person's expertise tells you to buy that product? That's what they're doing. They're advertising this stuff. I mean, obviously, sometimes they're doing it directly because they're basically, go to my store, buy my supplement. But as you say, and a lot of it's based in America, where you can get around these things by basically saying this is not for human consumption. I know I'm selling it for people to consume. And I'm selling it as a medical thing, but it's useless, and you shouldn't eat it because it may well kill you. And once the fact that you say that, you can say to somebody, and if they want to eat it, well, goddamn, that's their right as an American, isn't it? But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that people don't appreciate quite how manipulative and how intoxicating social media can be. And like, people still online idiots. Like, I don't know, because like there's a lot of people out there that are sort of buying this. And so some of them have got to be idiots. It's kind of like the way it works, isn't it? So perhaps that's something that one's reappraising, maybe. But who knows? But yeah, well, I'm very glad that you're fighting, and I'm very glad that it's not He doesn't seem to, and not to underplay it because obviously it's horrible, but you see him build very stern stuff, and not the sort of person who's intimidated by what is essentially schoolyard bullies. Like, but it's internet schoolyard bullies. Like, I mean, schoolyard bullies are sad, but this is the internet, which is like, that's like sadness squared or cubed or whatever. I can't even figure it out. But yeah, I'm very glad that they've not sort of knocked you off your stride into great into great of a way. And I hope that you do get some sort of justice out of this, because it's just, you know, as we've said before, like, you know, fucking hell, we're Generation X, me and Brent. We grew up in the 90s. We understand about harsh humor and cussing people out and making people feel bad. And like, you know, that was the entirety of our humor from aged 5 to about, well, it still is. But there's a difference, isn't it? So like, this is a thing. And as well, it's easy to get swept up in these things, and before you know it, you're acting like a dickhead because you're surrounded by like-minded people that make you feel like you're part of a community. And so, you know,
around up here and I've said some pretty shitty things, and I wouldn't even say I'm sorry for it. I mean, I feel absolutely justified. I mean, when it comes down to it, you know, these are people that during one of the worst health crises that we will hopefully ever face, they just did 2 fingers up to society and went, we don't want to help. We don't want to help. We're going to enroll ourselves in every conspiracy theory known to man because we don't actually want to be part of the solution. Why on earth should we be nice to these people? Why? Why should we hold their hands? We should only be telling them to fuck off because, frankly, they've done nothing to help us.
It is the toleration of the intolerant, isn't it? Like, there does come to a point where it's like, no, there is no equality here. You're just being an idiot and a selfish idiot as well. Yeah, I can't fight on that one, Kat.
No, I speak the truth. So I mean, I don't think I argue science as much as I would say I'm a dickhead identifier. That's my superpower. I'm not going to be starting to discuss freaking graphene and all the, you know, all the stuff they're getting into now because they've had to take it to the next level, and now they're discussing all kinds of, you know, in-depth stuff, and that's not my.
You can spot a rube a mile off, and there's a lot of rubes out there at the minute, isn't there? And the key to being a good rube is to not realise that you're the rube. So, yeah, no, fair play to you, Kat. Fair play.